What is going on? It is SCPCRNP, aka Lack of Lepers. Thank you for joining us tonight on our new schedule of this reaction series. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7:30 p.m. CST. How you doing? I knew I'd see you here. How you been? It's good to connect. Good to connect. Been a crazy week. Crazy week. But let's get right back into it. So we are still finishing up the interview with S D Locke from the So You Think You Can Fandom podcast. We got about 40 minutes through that podcast so far, and the whole thing is about double that. So we're about halfway through. I do want to say thanks for trying to tune in to SCP Meta if you did try to do that on Saturday. We just had to kind of fumble some things around for a lot of different reasons, and so we didn't have the show. And I know you're probably dying to talk about or listen to people talk about one major event that has happened recently in the SCP Wiki space. And there is a plot. There's a lot to say about that, plenty to say about that. And we will this weekend. So if you're interested, check it out. The new time is on Sunday, and instead of 11 a.m. CST, it's 12 a.m. CST. And then one other housekeeping note relevant to what we do here on these nights as I start up our nice background music. A lot of people are taking down a lot of podcasts and a lot of videos and things that featured a particular individual who is, let's say, no longer in the space of SCP. So I just want to let you know we do have at least one of those that we've captured and saved. So we will be able to react to that. I think on the one hand, we don't want to give this person any more publicity, and on the same hand, we don't want to poo-poo anybody for having her on the show when they didn't know any better. But on the other hand, I think at least one episode of this nature should be listened to, because it offers a unique glimpse into a study that would ask, were there any signs? Were there any more signs to this individual? What can we see upon retrospection in these interviews and podcasts now that we are sure of what we know about that person? So I thought it'd be a very entertaining and slightly risque, slightly polemic, but a real statement of a thing to watch. We already did a few things on the Twitter of that nature, but we'll do actual podcasts that feature this individual. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. You'll know soon enough. All right, so let's get back into the main show here, and this is a podcast, so we'll just keep it small. Keep it small. Nothing to see there as I readjust and as the camera gets used to me. Hope you've been doing good. Let's get back into it.
But those serpent's hand's really fun. It's like
I was following the
people in like another universe.
Dado. I was following like those
like
ones as they were coming out. I found those to be kind of interesting.
Let's fast forward just a bit.
Be creative with like how you approach a threat.
Yeah, I don't know if that.
Occasionally you have to be creative. Yeah. It depends on the DM.
Yeah, most of the DMs I've ran into usually result in I will stab you, or I will pull the shonen and stab you harder.
Yeah.
If I could actually write more for my campaign, I'd probably do that.
There is that, we've always wanted to do that SCP tabletop.
Yeah, they're talking about doing tabletops, which I think I said last time I've never done. Not once. What is wrong with me? I don't know. Just never done it. Just never did it. Ever. Weird.
No, there is.
Is there an SCP tabletop?
There is an SCP tabletop that I found on Drive for RPG. There's also there's one that's like I can't remember what it's called. Jake showed it to me. It was like Point Green or something like that. That's basically just like an SCP tabletop, but it's like a lot more fleshed out. I'll have to ask him about it. But
interesting.
An SCP tabletop exists out on Drive Through RPG.
I can tell you that I've read a lot of chat logs from what were sort of role-playing servers, I guess, on the IRC, on the Skip IRC. Not great. Maybe it's just not for me.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. It's SCP is now SCP isn't really ubiquitous now in internet culture, I guess, but it's gotten really popular lately, hasn't it? It feels like almost everybody
talked about that last time.
Now. Maybe that's just where I frequent my social circles, though.
Nope, really has gotten bigger.
Possibly.
No doubt.
It's becoming like a little more mainstream, like a little less niche over time.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly not like, you know, incredibly popular like property or.
Yeah, I mean, there is like dedicated channels to SCP specifically. So I feel like, you know, it's definitely something that people have an interest in. It's just one of those things that's like, you kind of have to be around that time when like Containment Breach released to like really know about it. Because I feel like that's like most of the audience kind of knows about SCP either through like stumbling on a Volgun video, or they just grew up knowing that Markiplier or PewDiePie, whoever played that Containment Breach game and just kind of fell down that rabbit hole. I think another thing that I kind of want to ask is just like, is there really any like specific, like whether it be good or bad interactions that you've had with the SCP community while we're on that topic?
Uh-oh.
No, I mean, I'm pretty much pretty good interaction with most people. I don't get.
That is true. Locke is a very agreeable person on the whole, I would say. There's not much to not like, I guess.
Too caught up with interpersonal dramas or anything like that. So I mean, my interactions are like just not very
Just what do you think, like, just to kind of wrap up everything on the SCP Foundation, what do you think sets the SCP Foundation apart from other horror works?
I think it's just like it started like really kind of focused on these really short little tiny horror pieces, like, oh, here's a creepy item that, you know, kills you, but over time, like, it's just incorporated. You can find so many different types of content here, so I think like its real strength just lies in the variety of the community.
I think we heard this last time, so let's just go ahead and skip ahead just to
fucking thing, and it gets so much fucking it gets insane. Like,
okay, well now we have to read this.
If you thought there wasn't enough
we'll
story
have to
for the
write
first
that
one,
down and read it with
more than covers it.
That does sound fun.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there is an SCP related to Fortnite, because I know Jake really likes Fortnite now.
Oh, hold on a second. Let's go back.
When is SCP be?
Interesting.
And it's amazing.
The episode we did dedicated to you, where we're doing the tale, while we're like doing the whispers, I hear Matt go, "Among Us," but I didn't say anything.
So they're talking about the Among Us SCP, which of course is Tanhoney. You know, it's just sort of like, okay, so let me put it this way. So I saw some fan art of Tanhoney's Among Us article recently, and you know, you look at it and you know it's about the SCP, right? Because it says SCP, whatever number it is on the top. But you wouldn't really know it's an SCP, right? I mean, not that you can look at any picture and know what the SCP behind it is, or that it is an SCP strictly from the picture. But this was particular in that it was indistinguishable from just Among Us fan art. You know, that's really what it was. I mean, it was just two Among Us characters chilling, like in space, I guess. But I mean, that was really the only potentially odd thing about it. You know, so it just is a statement, I think, all in itself, all its own, to where, I mean, if you draw fan art of something and it's indistinguishable from fan art from a pop culture item, you know, maybe that says something about your SCP. Maybe you played it a little too close to the meme, to the pop culture. That's kind of what people had an issue with that Among Us SCP.
Because I knew it would break the thing we had going, and I went like back to like when I was editing the episode, I heard it, and I believe it's in the episode. I don't know if it got cut out with the truncate silence or not, but I think it's still in there. But I went and I looked at, like, I listened to Matt's like on like his unedited like audio track to find it. It's not on there.
What's going on, yo?
Yeah, it's one of the scariest things that has ever happened to us in our entire lives. We are
That's
It
absolutely
the
terrifying.
fuck out.
It might
Now-
have been one of the SCP. I forget the SCP number, but it's when the imposter is sus.
Yeah, I don't think Locke has
Yes.
talked in like a
They're
little bit.
manifesting now.
And it's amazing sequel. The
has a
Imposter is
sequel?
Sus 2, Nightmare Hour.
Right.
Wait, that's a thing?
That's
Yeah.
an actual fucking.
Yeah, so the second one was actually a lot better than the first one. The first one was basically like, I don't know. It was weird. The first one was very strange. Played very straight, just mixed it, just a little bit of flavoring of some ancient Greek mythology, I think it was. Maybe it was a different culture. Maybe it wasn't Greek. The second one, I think, was actually a good article. It was actually, well done. And it had some cheeky references to the first one. So, I mean, hey, they're basically a pair. So if you like one, you probably like the other. And if you don't like one, you probably don't like the other one.
thing, and it gets so much fucking it gets insane. Like,
Okay, well now we have to read this.
If you
Why is that? Why do you think that gets so much criticism? And like, why was that such a controversial article, you think? I mean, it's not really playing the pop culture thing straight, right? Like that's been a rule in the SCP Wiki for a long time. I remember when I was writing and I was a newbie, I didn't know what I was doing. I thought it'd be fun to write an SCP-J about a Senzu bean. And so I just wrote it straight. I mean, I thought that was hilarious, just like approaching the Senzu bean in a completely scientific manner with like a real, heavy dose of clinical tone. I thought that was hilarious. I still kind of think it's pretty funny, actually. But that didn't fly. People downvoted the hell out of that thing, and the comments were like, "Oh, you're not supposed to just take a pop culture reference like a Senzu bean from Dragon Ball Z, by the way, and just throw it into an SCP, and basically that be it." I mean, you can include pop references, but you got to do something with them, right? And so, this first of the pair that Tanhoney wrote, I mean, does it do something with the pop culture reference? I mean, it depends on who you ask. I mean, kinda. But then again, the fan art of it is indistinguishable from fan art of Among Us. So, I mean, does it really? I don't know. I personally think it was hugging that line really close. That was why it was so controversial. And, a lot of people took it to be sort of a seminal moment in the SCP, as if the fact that it was done by a pretty, actually a very well-known author at that point. And it was kind of a success. That was kind of some people's interpretation of a death knell to what was coming out of the SCP Wiki. So
you thought there wasn't enough
We'll
story
have to
for the
write
first
that
one,
down and read it with
more than covers it.
Yeah. So once again, the second one does go into a lot more. Like, it does a lot more. It does. The first one just is really interested in just it sort of a haha being about Among Us, and it's highly mimetic. It's basically just that little morsel of thought, like, hey, there's a god who plays Among Us, and he needs attention, and this is how he gets it. He plays Among Us, It's just it's so thin conceptually, isn't it? We could say. But I was surprised to learn after that point that Tanhoney, I thought that was really out of character for Tanhoney. I had kind of put Tanhoney in the category of like the Great Hippo or like Pepper's Ghost, where they're and like what's the guy's name who wrote Lamplight? Tufto. They're sort of like writers. They're sort of like the ones who would be like quietly writing in the corner around some heavy, dark sort of like rosewood, tables and some sort of like very large leather chair with some brandy or some burgundy, just some like stuff around them like that, straight razor kind of guys, shaving cream and straight razor kind of dudes, or people, excuse me. And I thought Tanhoney was kind of up there. He was kind of like this just really sophisticated author to me, and that really, really changed. And I'll have to go back and see if it happened after the SCP-5000 contest, which I think would be an interesting sort of armchair psychologist study. But I mean, Tanhoney really got in with like some highly, I I don't want to say like adolescent, but like, I mean, I guess that's kind of what it is. Some really just like seriously pop culture crowds, you know, like Rounder House and the Yurt Boys. He's really tight with those guys. So yeah, he's a little more shameless. Like, I'm not saying that in a bad way. That's just kind of the way he is personally, and that's fine. That's what he wants to do. But it's almost like watching that straight A student, like suddenly after like almost graduating, deciding to go hang out with all like the street gang members. It's just strange to see to me.
That does sound fun.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there is an SCP related to Fortnite, because I know Jake really likes Fortnite now.
I know there's one related to Minecraft. That one also kind of did the same thing. In fact, I really don't know why that one didn't get as much hate as Tanhoney's. Probably because Tanhoney was a more notable author than, I think it was Western who wrote the Minecraft SCP. But either way, yeah, either way, just some low-hanging fruit, just sort of plopped down on the table.
When is SCP being added to Fortnite? That's
Damn,
my
bro.
question.
It's a good question.
Now this is going to sound really strange, but I think what you were telling me about with this this sort of Mandela effect that you had, where you read Among Us in that tale, I think, hold on, I think you might have actually been reading the page, because I'm looking it over right now, and sure enough, clear as day, it says Among Us there.
So it's not the Phantom Among Us. It just so happens that we don't know who said Among Us.
And it's actually on the page.
Like, I'm not doubting that the story had like Among Us or not. I just know that I think all of us heard somebody go Among Us.
It was probably me, but the scariest thing is
What do
I
you
can't
mean?
say for certain
How do you
whether
not
it was
know if
me
you
or
said
not.
Among Us or not?
I can't remember.
I'm adding this to the podcast lore. We're adding, you know, all of our inside jokes and just the Phantom Among Us, with like 3 question marks by it, maybe a 4th one. Feel like it's worthy of it. Mongoose, yeah.
How'd you choose your name?
In the Halo 2 days,
Interesting question.
when I first got the game, me and my brother were playing it, and they were playing on a map with a snow level, and you couldn't really see what people's names were because of the textures and the colors. And I thought I saw another player, and his name was Dirty Cornrows, and I was like, "That's an awesome name." So I used that for a while, and then I switched from Dirty Cornrows to Shaggy Dreadlocks. So
That's interesting. Can you imagine if you knew Shaggy Dreadlocks by Dirty Cornrows? Would that be an improvement? I think I would like that. That's a nice name too. You know, I hate to say this. Maybe it's because I'm not smart enough and I judge a book by its cover, but I've always thought that Shaggy Dreadlocks was like this, you know, granola, you know, sort of like hacky sack kicking, you know, just like weed growing, bong room, sort of person. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that's bad. That's just kind of the person I thought Shaggy Dreadlocks was, you know, with dreads, you know, sort of one of those, I don't know, like kind of Rastafarian, you know, that's kind of what I've always thought Shaggy Dreadlocks would be like.
oh, that's the entire story.
Nice. I guess I'm curious. Is there anything that you want to say before we dig into anything else yourself, Locke? Any announcements? Any?
Sure. I mean, if you are going to be looking for more stuff to read, for the
stuff.
Halloween season, so last year I did I got together with 9 other authors, and we did a series of 10 SCPs for the month of October. Like, they're literally, you know, sort of like a little special event. Like, we did it, like, we posted like 1 a day every day as part of this ongoing story.
That's
and
pretty cool.
This
that's not easy to do, by the way. Just a collaboration between the authors, make, you know, everybody, you know, getting set on their deadline. I mean, that's crazy, honestly.
October, I am like tripling down I got together with 30 other authors.
Holy
we're gonna
crap.
have a horror SCP anthology. So the whole month of October will be like
Wow.
sort of like a freak fest of horror SCPs.
Oh my god, they're gonna do it every single day of October. That's crazy. And this was recorded back in January, and I can tell you just from kind of being around Twitter that I've started to see people advertise this this thing coming up in October. We're 4 months away, so they're pretty serious about it. It's just amazing. I mean, if you can get 30 people, if you can spin that many plates at one time and have really legitimately an article posted every day of that month, I will be incredibly impressed. That's just a tremendous amount of coordination and recruitment going on there, and people delivering. Honestly, I mean, with all the stuff that happens in life, you would think that one person wouldn't make the deadline. You got some wiggle room in there, sure, but that would be impressive. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Locke is sort of like the anthologist of the SCP Wiki, because I think Locke did 5999, sort of was the leading figure of that, kind of arranged it and orchestrated it in the same way that you might imagine Locke doing this with this anthology they're talking about for October, but just everybody joining in for the actual 5,000 contest entry. And so I wonder if this started with Locke, but there's certainly a push towards anthologies. There's certainly on the wiki these days a push towards people having more grandiose and arcing sort of multiverse things. And I think that obviously there's some of that that's inspired from things like the Marvel series and the Marvel universe, and this just like supreme exploration and jubilance and celebration of canon, and of anthologies that refer to one another, and sort of these cohesive canons, these cohesive arcs. I don't think ever in the time of the SCP Wiki has the non-canon mantra ever been so challenged, maybe not directly, but indirectly for sure. And I think Locke is sort of a pioneer in that regard. So, I particularly myself, I don't quite like that approach of writing for the site, but it's just as valid as any other, honestly. These are just stylistic differences. So, you got to give it to Locke. I'm not sure the details, don't quote me, but just the way I interpret, just from what I can see, Locke has been, maybe the most important person on the wiki when it comes to developing this trend of anthologies sort of popping up. There have been anthologies before, but they kind of took the form of canons. And this is the first time where we're seeing things just sort of gather themselves around ideas or just efforts, more abstract things than just canons, So Admonition Hub is another example that I think follows in the footsteps of something like what Locke has done in the past. So I mean, Admonition started this year. It's a 2022 thing. I'm pretty sure nothing came out in 2021. So Locke is a little ahead of the curve there, and certainly making some waves. So got to give it to him. Got to give it to Locke.
That sounds awesome.
That'll
thank you.
Exciting. I mean, at least we now know what we're going to be doing for the month of October.
Yep, it's crazy.
Yeah, easy content.
Hell yeah. So I think now would actually be the time for us to get into the discussion of whatever SCP you've brought to the table.
Okay, so we have a choice here. I don't know, because you guys said...
Are they going to read an article? I hope not. Come on, guys, don't do that.
I think we have roughly 45 minutes left? Give or take?
Yeah, that's almost exactly
Okay.
how much time you have.
So I think the ones that I
you nailed it.
originally thought we were going to go with are probably going to be a little too long, because each one's about an hour read.
Are they going to read the rest?
Give or take.
Hey, look, I'm going to call it here. If they read articles the rest of the time, I'm not interested in this.
Unless
we'll find something else to watch. We'll watch something that I would mention at the beginning of the stream.
we could probably do one and just leave out one of the exploration logs. So we could do SCP 783, and we'll just that one has 3 pages to it, but we could just read the first 2, and that should get us to it at a time.
No,
Where
you guys are
we're all
gonna read the
comfortable.
page. Oh, that's a gross image.
783.
So this is gonna be good.
Yeah, this is basically because when it's like again, like they're all really original concepts. A lot of people don't like to see like, oh, well, this is just X from whatever media copied into SCP. So like, I want to try to challenge myself to do like, well, they say that you can't really do Slenderman as an SCP. What if I just do Slenderman as an SCP?
Oh, that's cool.
Except make it, a little bit different, make it
Yeah.
kind of my own. So that's
Yeah.
what this is.
That's pretty cool.
Basically like a Slenderman XP.
Yeah. And then also
That sounds awesome.
Locke has thrown in some, kind of leapfrogged Slenderman and kind of went back one level lower, one level prior to Slenderman. And of course, Slenderman came from the Crooked Man. There lived a crooked man who made a crooked deal, kept a crooked cane and his catch in crooked creel. He stole a crooked child who cried a crooked squeal. And that crooked little man was broken on the wheel. That's old nursery rhyme that goes on for, I think, a lot longer. Really cool that Locke nabbed this spot. Obviously, this is a shout out to SCP-087, I guess it is, the staircase, where the last one is expunged. And I think it even does something like that, too, for the second to last one. Interesting. I wonder when this one was written. Because it's a series 1. That's a pretty good use of superscript right there. Yeah, I mean, other works by Locke, you have them all listed by rating. I don't know about that. Anyways, okay, let's just see what they have to say about it. I don't know if we're gonna listen if they just read it.
All right, so who is going to start it off? Or do I? I don't know how you guys do this.
Matt's usually our designated narrator, but you
Okay.
are the guest, yeah.
So let's get through a little of this and see if they sort of interject it with commentary, because that'd be great. Let's just see what they do.
All right, so SCP-783, and we got an image of some wonked out, stretched out, gross-looking arm.
Yeah,
It says right arm of SCP-783.
that can't be CC.
The object class is Keter, and this is level 3/783 classified. Special containment procedures. Personnel must monitor the town of Tembe and continue to develop the entity's profile. Its victims are to be retrieved, incinerated, and cataloged in this file. Update. Due to recent events, a stronger Foundation presence has been determined to be necessary for the containment of SCP-783 and its related phenomena. An ancillary building near the local hospital, as well as 2 domiciles, have been commandeered from the locals for Foundation use.
Shaggy is a master of clinical language, clinical tone. You won't go wrong if you want to study Locke, Locke's clinical tone. Some of the best. There may be moments where other people do it a little better, but no one does it better on a consistent basis. Just the general level at which Locke is writing clinical tone is astounding, and I think you can't really write well in the SCP format. Call me old school, but I don't think you can do it well if you're not really writing in clinical tone very well. I think that the clinical tone of something like an SCP article it's the key that unlocks all the things that make it unique when it comes to differentiating itself from other formats and other genres of writing. It's it's really good. Really good. Definitely look up to Locke.
This property in its entirety has been redesignated as Provisional Site 5. Description: SCP-783 is a hostile entity currently preying upon the residents of Tembe, a rural hamlet in Oxfordshire, England. It has a period of activity lasting roughly 70 days over the fall and winter months, occurring every 12 years. It exclusively attacks those who are alone and indoors after sunset. Buildings housing SCP-783's current target will experience a steady. We are aware of the existence
Okay.
catch in.
Okay.
Boy, It lasts approximately 23 seconds.
Okay.
Resolves over
Okay.
in the second floor bathroom.
Uh-huh.
Trip fall. 12 loud snaps are heard, followed by rapid thumping.
Okay.
Several elongated toes.
Whoa!
Immediately.
Where did that bass come from, baby? Damn. Now there's like one guy who has like an excellent mic and an excellent baritone. Holy crap! Why isn't that guy leading the podcast? Just FYI, you know, you put the best singer on the mic, don't you, in the front of the band?
Visible protruding from the freshly exposed earth. Oh, that's not right. A dig team was assembled, and by the following afternoon had unearthed a mass grave.
That's a common reaction when you read Shaggy Dreadlock's articles. Like, that's not right, man. That shouldn't happen. We took a wrong turn somewhere. Nope. Like the tooth anomaly guy. Like, it's just an entity of teeth, and it's just no, man. No. Get out. Get out of here now.
Approximately 5 meters across, containing several dozen nude victims of SCP-783. The bodies were well preserved, yet very desiccated. They're
out this.
I'm definitely
okay. So
his agent called.
We skipped their reading, but let's see if they talk about it afterwards.
The line became taut after several minutes. She signaled for extraction and was recovered safely. Upon debrief, the agent testified to the existence of an anomalous locale, the entrance to which is located beneath the victims' corpses. A temporary leave of absence was granted to Agent Collins.
Look at that. Look at that right there. You'll see that if you zoom in a little bit. Agent Collins, the I is super scripted, so I'm sure that has something to do with the article. I mean, obviously everything is kind of super duper scripted or subscripted. I haven't read this article in a long time. I think I've read it before. It just was a long time ago, I guess. Unless I'm just misremembering. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, I still don't think Locke is good enough to have that and it be pulled off well. I still don't understand. I mean, you can have all the great clinical tone in the world, but it doesn't really give you a pass, a hall pass for something like that. I mean, you might as well put Zalgo text in there. I might be wrong because once again, I haven't read this in a long time. Maybe I forgot the context, but I don't think that could possibly be in there in a justified way.
They check out this.
I'm definitely interested.
Mass grave,
Mm-hmm.
and that should get us to a good time.
Yeah, this is quite fun.
I swear to God, if one of those motherfuckers isn't named Armstrong, I'm throwing a fit.
Huh.
Nice.
Good.
Looks like, what the fuck? Oh, okay. Yeah, Armstrong is referred to quite a lot, actually, by a lot of damn people. Armstrong villain, Metal Gear Solid, what is it, like Revival or something like that? Senator Armstrong. I'm sure that's who he's talking about. This G right here. What the heck, man? What a villain. Or is he a villain? I'll let you answer that question.
All right. So I'll get this kicked off here. SCP-783L1.
Oh, they're gonna read through another one.
Hold on.
Let's just kind of skip around here for a sec.
They're back. A single before becoming winded.
Oh, I hate it.
The D-class conveys to command.
Oh, hurts me.
Grown and elongated.
Oh,
Twisting and breaking.
please no.
Flee next to them, knocking them to the ground.
Oh,
172.
oh,
And Private Odd quickly come in to assist.
oh no.
3 deepers.
Yeah, it's getting further in.
It's getting deeper and deeper, just like like how we're hopping down the flesh hole.
Yeah, it's getting balls deep.
Yeah.
Balls
I would
deep in the
describe
flesh
Pod
hole.
from Jackson
Balls
pretty
deep.
well.
Oh god.
I don't want to think about the corpse flesh hole being filled.
You should go read the Vorhole.
He knows what he did.
Yeah, fuck you, Todd. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and answering our questions and giving us a little bit of insight into how you work on these SCPs. And I mean, I think everyone here can at least agree that we are all excited to see
Especially when you get around to
what
finishing that
October
Clay
has
one.
in store for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
It kind of makes me afraid because I'm trying to keep up with all these articles by doing this Friday show, and that's just one more article going to be guaranteed to be posted every day of the month that I'm gonna have to get up to. Hopefully they're kind. Hopefully it's short. You know, doesn't have to be. You shouldn't do that for little old me. You should write what you want from your heart.
Yeah. Yes, we're looking forward to it.
Play one sounds very spooky.
That's a little messed up.
I must say, 783, new favorite. Very
It's good. It's good, no doubt.
Ooh, well, thank you.
especially the
Very spooky.
especially.
Have I read anything by Locke that I didn't think was great? Have I read anything by Locke that I didn't think was really, really good? You know, there's a lot of authors whose stuff I like and who, you know, I'll be like, oh, well, you know, you can't win them all. Where's that article for Locke for me? I don't know. 5999 was really well written. You know, that's kind of it for me, I guess. Did Locke participate in SCP-6500? I think Locke did. That may be it for me then, if that's the case.
Spooky is that right arm of SCP-783 victim.
But you can't even point at Locke. I mean, because it's just like a gaggle of people who wrote that. I mean, you can't call that Locke.
I really like that when it is just like a really well done image. Tells a lot more than anything the writing.
Yeah, like there was one that I was looking at, that basically just looked like a photo, and then like they just went into like paint and just blacked it out, and I was like, oh, that's cool, I guess. But like I feel like the best SCPs, like when they have photos, they don't censor a lot, or if they censor things, there's like something that at least gives us like an unsettling feeling, because I mean, pictures are worth 1,000 words, so you got to make it worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I love how Locke's just like, yeah. ... Love that. That's some confidence right there.
That you included that in the actual piece itself too.
It was very fun though.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for writing.
Oh yeah.
And thank you for coming on.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you so much.
All right. Peace out.
We love you.
Peace.
Oh, how cute. How cute. All right, so yeah. Good show. You know, I'm sure the reading was great. I'm sure the reading was a well done reading, and obviously they have good source material, so it can't be that bad. But that's just not really what I do here. I don't want to listen to articles. I think that's you've got to be real. You've got to have something going on. Like seriously, you got to be bona fide in some way to be just reading SCP articles and it be like, you know, really good. I mean, I understand that probably this is kind of sad to think about now that I think about it. Most people who consume SCPs probably are getting them secondhand through something like somebody reading them on something like this, whether it's like a YouTube channel or whatnot. Oh, excuse me. Gross. Which is, I guess, kind of weird to think about, but not really what I'm into. Don't want to bore everybody else too, because I'm bored when I hear people read the articles like this. But yeah, so this is an interesting group of podcasters, and as you can see, they've regularly got SCP kind of themed material. They got a logo that pertains to it. So they interview Sean Saxum. They record they get some other author. Anyway, some Department Con entries. Yeah, so I mean, we'll probably come back to these guys and look at a podcast or two. I think they're interesting. Like I said, it really seemed kind of hit or miss with like the Sean Saxum, for example, interview. I thought was really uninteresting to listen to and kind of obnoxious to listen to, quite honestly. So it just really depends. It really depends on which one you listen to. So, well, unexpectedly, that basically does it. That basically does it for that podcast. So we're essentially done with the series now. So that's a little sooner than I thought it was going to be. Obviously, these typically last about an hour, but we're kind of at a good stopping point. So what I'll do We'll stop pretty soon here, but before I go, what I'll do is kind of tease just a little bit of what we're going to probably start next time. Okay, so I'll circle back. This is an episode of Sean Saxum, SCP Authors Anomalous. We did this with, White Guard, and it wasn't my favorite, like series of interviews, but I think this will be interesting because this one features Jackrabbit, who is the individual who I referred to earlier on in this podcast about someone who has really made a dramatic exit from the community in the last week or so. And of course, there's just a ton of drama swirling about still. It's really quite tornadic still to this minute. So we'll probably start on this. And, like I said, some people have taken their products that feature this individual, Jackrabbit, down since all this went down. Some others have left it up. So we'll kind of just take what comes to us. We'll kind of just take what we can get, okay? So right now, this is what's up. I think there was a Yurtcast episode that was actually taken down that had Jackrabbit in it too. So, would I have liked to have listened to that? Yes, sure, that would have been fun. I should have seen that coming. I should have downloaded it. I'd feel kind of like a dick, honestly, if they wanted to take it down and I still had it and reacted to it. So, let's give the people what they want when it comes to their own content they're putting out there. Even though, hey, if I happen to rip it and I happen to have it, that's just tough luck for you. But this one's still up, so I thought like maybe we would listen to it. And so it just the reason why I want to do something like this is because it has a tremendous amount of replay value. I think it's important for the SCP community, not to go preach or anything, but I think it's important to have the SCP community kind of go back and reassess and try to ask the questions that they don't want to ask. Like, how was it that I was very duped? And I'm not trying to tout myself or toot my own horn, but I was never ever swayed by Jackrabbit. I never for a second believed that she was a genuine person, ever. And let me get a little personal here for a second. And the reason why I knew that she was a fake person is because I'm 35 years old. Okay, I'm kind of an old guy. Like, I've seen this happen a lot. Like, I've seen this before. Jackrabbit was exactly like, I hate to say this, she didn't look like my first girlfriend, but she behaved exactly like my first girlfriend. And my first girlfriend was not the best person. She ended up being kind of a manipulative person. Okay, she kind of messed me up. She messed around. Okay, and so that was not fun. And call it maybe just a lucky guess, but the vibes that I got from Jackrabbit immediately were just like this like overtly aggressive positivity, this unbelievable exuberance for everything, this sort of like everybody's my friend, I'm friends with everybody, sort of schmoozery. Those are things that I know very well and that I know how to sniff out and I know how to smell it out. Okay, so the first time I saw Jackrabbit on Twitter, the very first time, my opinion of her never changed until never changed. So when all the shit came out about her, I was shocked, because wow, like, I don't know if you know about it, but it's just absolutely terrible. I mean, just awful. If you get into the details of some of the things that happened with some of the people that she was around, I mean, I'm thinking of people like Grigori Karpin. I mean, what she did there, I mean, is like, oh my God, like, it's just so evil. It's just so bad, And then looking back to what she had done in the past with other communities that she sort of fleeced and sort of parasitized prior to the SCP community, it's just shocking, the depth of it. Honestly, it's shocking. But I was never surprised. I mean, I was aghast at how bad it was. But people like that. I mean, someone said it pretty well in our Discord server that people who are that positive are putting up a front. They're not real people. Nothing about that presentation is real. And I think Harmony was the one who on a recent TikTok video asked a very good question as to why it was that this kind of individual was able to fool so many people. Because if she had tried to pull that in some place like the SCF, like the Society for Containment Fiction Discord, it wouldn't have happened. Everybody in there was like, I don't trust that person at all. So I mean, why did it happen at the SCP Wiki? And how can you look at something like that in such close proximity to what happened only a month ago with Dr. Bright and think that there isn't something happening in the community that is enabling or attracting these sorts of individuals? Like seriously, like to the center of the culture. It's, once, okay, twice like that with such influential people, with such ripples, reverberating through the community, breaking hearts. Twice? Okay. I mean, once is an anomaly, but twice, you're cooking a pattern right there. So anyway, so we'll kind of look at this. We'll start this on Thursday. Obviously, that's the next time we'll be doing one of these, just 2 a week now, Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. But I want to thank you very much for joining. If this is still up, we will watch it. If not, we'll find something else. I'll respect the artists here and what they want, the statements that they want to make with regards to Jackrabbit. But let's do about 10 minutes here just to round the episode out, so that even if this is deleted, at least we got something out of it. Okay, let's go.
Perfect. Welcome to the 5th episode of Discovering SCP.
Oh my god.
Now, you guys couldn't tell from that laugh alone? Shame.
Oh my god. This is not Discovery. Welcome back to the 5th episode of SCP Authors Anomalous. Oh wow. I don't even remember what podcast I'm recording anymore.
The
This is sad.
The nightmare never ends, Nikki. We're back on Discovering SCP. We're writing our first article for the first time all over again.
Oh god. I feel
And it's funny because if you look at this individual right here, released a statement about Jackrabbit recently on their Twitter, and if you read it, it's like behind the scenes, like we were not like good, it's just amazing. It's just amazing to see that the magic trick, to see it from the perspective of the audience, and then to go behind the scenes and sort of understand the mechanics of what was happening. These two people, were not as close as Jackrabbit would have liked you to believe.
so bad for you. I was listening to your episodes before. This is absolutely torture.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Love you, Discovering SCP.
Well, I'm glad to be back.
A lot of fake laughter going on right now. Okay. How do I say this? There is a devil of fake laughter. Just like there's a god, like in the old, pantheons of, pantheistic religions. There's a god of thunder. There's a god of, the harvest. There's a god of the sun. There's a devil of fake laughter. Okay. And so you should try to avoid that devil, because it just invites a bad time. Okay. No.
Welcome back to SCP Authors Anomalous. Today I am joined by Jackrabbit and Necrokitten, also known as Nikki.
Hey there, you cute cadets.
Okay. I can't believe you have to point this stuff out. But anybody who, this is easy to do ex post facto. I know. That's bait. That is a hook with bait on it. Who falls for that shit? Who falls for this? Thirsty dudes? Thirsty teens? Is that what's up? Hey, look, when I had my first girlfriend, I was a young kid, okay? I didn't know any better. I have to keep that in mind. It's so easy for me because I'm an older dude. These people were the same people as I was back in the day, except this character that we're looking at right now was in the flesh, was physical next to me, and they're digital with this quack. But yeah, there's a lot to say about this.
I need a cool catchphrase, you guys.
See, a catchphrase. Why do you have to have a catchphrase? Like you don't. Like it's totally it's totally designed to be commercial. It's 100% commercialized. You have to have a catchphrase. And then Jackrabbit, on top of that, Jackrabbits was, hey, I'm going to refer to you as a cute cadet, which sort of like almost auto implies that you are enrolled in her army of cadets, which is already kind of weird. But it's like this this cougar like vibe, and that actually turned out what she was.
I know. Hey,
Hello, hello.
That's here's my wife.
Yeah, anybody, I mean, this is just me. I'm old school. I'm traditional and I'm old fashioned. But anybody who's like openly joking, to the point of confusing people as to the facts of the case about who your wife is, when you actually already have a partner, like that's just weird to me. Like I would never joke about anybody being my wife because I'm married. Okay. Like I wouldn't be joking about like someone else. Okay. Like, I mean, this gets into some politics that might be controversial, but like just the way I see it, don't take this as like, the way I think you should see it too. But like the way I see it is that like I'm totally devoted to this woman. Okay, like that's it. Like so, the idea of like, even joking around about somebody else being like as significant to me as my wife, like you don't even play with that. Like that's an insult to this. Like. That's not cool to me. Like, don't do that. So, like, this too. Now, I was fooled. I thought that this was actually her wife. So, I thought that was kind of cool. But it turns out it wasn't. And so, it's just another coal on the fire, man.
Oh, perfect.
There you go.
Did you not read the part of the SCP Authors Anomalous guest instruction manual saying with the part that says you need a cool catchphrase?
Damn it.
We'll work on it. We'll get there.
Hey, you want to know something crazy? They also took down the first episode of Simply Creative People. But I do have some clips. Maybe we'll end the show this way since we obviously don't have time to get started on all this. I don't really want to do this because it's going to take forever. But I have some clips from that show. So I watched the first episode. I actually thought it was pretty good. I was fooled at some point because I didn't like Jackrabbit at all, but that's the one moment where I was kind of like a little softened to Jackrabbit because of the things that she said on this show. The first episode of the Simply Creative People podcast, she had some things to say that I was just like, oh man, like that's really good. Like she was talking about togetherness and all this stuff. I guess I'll find it later. I don't want to like bore everybody trying to go through my phone here to try to find this, but too late, right? I know. Bless you. I'll find it later. Here it is. Actually, I found it right now. Let's listen.
The ascendance of the community through sacrifice. So if you are developing your own personal power and you become a card.
So what I think it is interesting before we kind of wrap this up, starting back to kind of my first exposure to Sarcasm and everything that we've discussed, ultimately I'm correct in that these are the bad guys.
Yeah, because more so than anything else, Sarcasm shows the nuance that is possible on the SCP Wiki.
The neo-Sarkics, the modern representation of what this is and the threat that it poses to the world, they are actually the bad guys. Highly encourage you guys to look more into this because not only are they the bad guys, but when you understand what they have stolen from the original intended everything, you'll see that it's not just a opposed group, it's evil. It is so evil to take these ideas that were not originally intended for a certain thing and turned into something else.
How in the world could a brain make that statement knowing what exists behind the scenes? It's just deep. It's just deeply, deeply fucked up. I mean, wow. It's shocking. It's shocking the depths of this. But yeah, stuff like that. I mean, if you listen to that first episode of Simply Creative People, which I did, Jackie knew her shit about sarcasm. She was obsessed with sarcasm, which I know there's a thing in the community where it's like, hey, if you're into sarcasm, you're like weird, like you must be kind of off. And this doesn't help that stereotype, I guess. But I mean, just listen to the words that she said. I mean, can you believe that someone who ended up being who she was like, didn't have so much cognitive dissonance trying to get those words out that they were able to come out? Just fascinating. Here's another one. No, that's a different one. Let's see. Okay, so this is one more. We'll end it with this.
We're so excited for this. It's really amazing. I think it's so incredible that so many of us, either discovered SCP or became fully invested in SCP.
My bad.
Some of the loneliest moments in a lot of our lives, and I think it's just really incredible to see that all of us know each other now and are continuing to get to know each other better through all of this.
Yeah.
And
we sure are.
That is why, and full credit to Greg here for the podcast title. That is why this is called Simply Creative People, is because that is what we are at the end of the day, is Simply Creative People. So we probably have to wrap it up.
Yeah. So I mean, just messages like that. Like I thought that was great. I mean, like, okay, because it was speaking to me because I didn't like who was saying it. I don't like Jackrabbit. Never liked Jackrabbit. Never. She always set my radar off. Ding, 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 ding. Like buzz, buzz, buzz. Like something's wrong. Always. From the first second I saw her on Twitter. Period. And then she says stuff like this, like, we're all getting to know each other. We're all like buddies, and like, we're all just simply creative people at the end of the day. And if you listen to that episode, you heard a little bit of it in here too. But you would not be, let's say it this way. So after you listen to the first episode of that podcast, you would think that the hosts are great friends. Grigory Karpin and Jackrabbit were good buddies. But if you actually read, what was going on behind it, I mean, and then you go back and listen to what this was like. This is an astonishing amount of con artistry. I can sit up here and tell you that like I didn't have a good vibe from Jackrabbit, but there's absolutely no way anybody could have predicted just how fucked up, just how deeply set and how thoroughly inauthentic her personality and her presentation was. I knew it was bad. I just didn't know it was that bad. Anyway, so if this episode of the Authors Anomalous is still up on Thursday, by Thursday, we'll listen to it. Just as a interesting retrospective study, okay? Because a lot of these things, as you just saw, have an interesting amount of replay value, a whole new dimension to them that you may not have heard the first time around. So anyway, I do want to thank you very, very much for checking me out tonight. I appreciate you accommodating the new schedule of Tuesday night and Thursday night. That really is helping me out as I've gotten back to work full time. I'm surprised I was able to do this, quite honestly. I'm very tired. But I have a great time doing it, so that's why I'm here, and I think that's why you're here too. So I really appreciate it. Feel free to share it around. Feel free to throw up a comment or two if you have any as we walk through some of these offerings. And I will see you again on Thursday. Very much looking forward to it. Same time, 7:30 p.m. CST. This has been SCPCRNP, a.k.a. Lack of Lepers. Y'all have a great night. Thank you again. Take it easy.